What's going on, everyone? So, Lakers, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis have been quite the duo. Now, hopefully this year they can, right the ship and maybe potentially get into the playoffs and compete for a championship. If not, then the idea is maybe next season they can finally get that second championship. But regardless, they still got one. They still had this success in the trade. The Lakers gave up a lot to go get Anthony Davis, and it paid off. They won an NBA championship. The Lakers would do that every year if it won them a championship, and we'll see if these new acquisitions can help lead to a championship. But many moons ago now, there was another guy that the Lakers were seemingly going to get. The exact phrase at the time was hellbound, that this player was hellbent on going and getting himself to the Lakers. Grew up a diehard Laker fan, grew up a guy that wanted to always play for the purple and gold, and for a long time, it looked like he was headed to team up with LeBron James and go compete for a championship. And that player was Paul George. Paul George was a guy that really seemed like he was going to be a Laker. Laker fans were really hoping and excited for him to be a Laker. And what ends up happening is the Lakers did not want to sell the farm to get him because they believed he was going to leave in free agency and come to the Lakers. So the Lakers figured, why not wait a year and let's see what ends up happening, and we'll just sign Paul George outright. And Paul George didn't like that, and so he ends up signing an extension, and then fast forward, he ends up getting traded to the Los Angeles Clippers to team up with Kawhi Leonard. And it hasn't gone that great. And Paul George recently made some comments that myself and many others find very hilarious. So what he said was, a championship with the Clippers 100% will outweigh a championship being with the Lakers. This is what Paul George said on his goal to bring the Clippers a championship via GQ Sports. Now, here's the thing. To an extent, I can understand that, right? Clippers have never been to the NBA Finals. They have never won an NBA championship. So bringing the Clippers their first NBA title, I'm sure would have some weight to it, right? That would be something that would just feel amazing, right? Just like when LeBron brought a chip to Cleveland. But these are very different circumstances. And you expect me to believe that Paul George, who was anxious, desperate, and determined, based on all the reports that we had that entire season about going to the Lakers and playing for the Lakers, and he always dreamed of being a Laker, you expect me to believe that him personally, that it would mean more to him to win a championship with the Clippers and the team that he grew up, idolized, and loved, than following in the footsteps of the player that he idolized, grew up, and loved. I don't buy it for a second. I don't. Like, to me, this is Paul George showing that he's still very upset. Now, to be fair, what is he supposed to say? Like, no, I would have rather won a championship with the Lakers. I do get that, and I do understand that argument. But Paul George loves to bring up the Lakers a lot. He really does. Like, it's like every year he has like one or two quotes where he just is like trying to mask his frustration of not being a Laker. And I don't buy it. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have really underperformed. Say what you may about the Lakers, believe what you may about the Lakers, but at the end of the day, the Lakers won a championship, right? I mean, the Clippers have been out of the second round once in this tenure. They haven't even sniffed an NBA championship, let alone anything. And they have been arguably the deepest, best team for the last several years, right? I mean, this is a team that many believed we're going to win the championship the year that the Lakers won the championship. And that was several years now. That was 3-4 seasons ago. And maybe when all is said and done, maybe the Clippers end up winning a championship. But it's one of those things, like, I don't believe it until I actually see it. Paul George was a guy that I would have loved to have Paul. I would still love to have Paul George, right? Imagine a big three of Paul George, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. They probably would have won several championships. Paul George probably would have a championship by now. One of the reasons the Lakers didn't want to sell the farm for Paul George is because they were trying to put together a big three. They were trying to do the same thing with Kawhi Leonard, right? They wanted Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James when Paul George ended up signing long term. The plan was to sign Paul George outright and then trade for Anthony Davis. That was their vision. That's what they ultimately wanted. They were trying to create a big three. But then Paul George got in his feelings and got all upset because the Lakers didn't sell the farm to trade for you for what? When you could have just came and signed with them, right? Like the whole point was to keep all their assets and keep all their talent. But no, he was upset that, they went and they wouldn't trade everything, and OKC over here was willing to do so. Like, okay, so your idea was for the Lakers to basically sell the farm for a guy when they were trying to build a championship contender. They were trying to build the best team possible for you to win a championship, and you wanted them to gut everything for you to come and then try to build around when you could have just waited. And you, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James probably would have won the next 3 championships. Like, seriously, if Anthony Davis didn't get hurt, the Lakers probably would have won back-to-back. Problem is, when Anthony Davis went down, LeBron James didn't have anyone else. If he would have had Paul George, then guess what? He would have had help, and they probably could have won that Suns series because they were up 2-1 and looked like they were going up 3-1. And Anthony Davis would have been back for the Bucks series. So they probably would have won back-to-back with Paul George, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And maybe Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt because he doesn't have to handle as much of a workload, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, yes, Paul George is injury-prone, and he's missed a lot of games. But it would have been him, LeBron, and AD. They probably would have been the best team in the league this last several years. And instead, he's been on a Clipper team that can't even get out of the first round. Can't get out of the second round. Dude, the Clippers have been the best team in the league for like the last 10 years. Every year it's their year, dating back to Lob City. And every year they fall short and they can't get out of the second round. And that's probably going to happen this year. And, Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy. Yes, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy, but at least Paul George would have had LeBron James, right? Like, at least Paul George would have had that other guy, Mr. Durable, Mr. Reliable. It's just, I don't know. It's just funny to me. I really do. I think it's just, it's like Paul George always finds a way. And look, like, if the Lakers could get Paul George tomorrow, I'd be all for it, right? I mean, PG-13, give him to me. I like him. Playoff P is a little concerning at times, but, it may be him not having to be the guy. He could be a lot better. And, I mean, he's had good series. He's had good seasons. His Pacer days, he was a problem. He was good. He was real good. And I would love to have Paul George. Like, again, if Paul George became a Laker tomorrow, you don't think I'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. Most Laker fans would be. It's just he's a Clipper, so we hate him now. But there's no way I buy that to him personally, it would mean more to win a championship with the Clippers than it would to win with like I said, the team that he grew up, loved, idolized, the player that, he wore his number, all of that stuff. There's no way. And if he really thinks people believe it and buy it, it's silly. Like I said, would there be some weight to it? Sure. Because again, you win a championship with an organization that has never won. It's gonna feel good, right? You always have that. Where, if you win a championship with the Lakers, you just won another championship. But the fan base, the legacy, the history, just everything that goes into that just has so much more weight. And the problem is they're very likely the Clippers are never going to win a championship, at least with this current adaptation, at least with this current roster. Again, they have insane depth, but the roster doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, they just have 15 of the same guys. And they don't really have a point guard. Paul George is kind of playing point guard, and he's not really a point guard. Yeah, he can play and make a little bit here and there, but that's not his role. It's not his job. You have, a guy in Kawhi Leonard who, when he plays, is fantastic, but guy hasn't had a healthy season in ever. And it's just you don't have, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't see it. And look, maybe this year or next year or one of these years, they'll make me eat my words, but I can't believe in you until you prove otherwise. Every year, year is the Clippers' year. Every year they are the favorite. Every year you look at the roster and you're like, front to back, this is the deepest, best team in the league. And every year they end up losing for whatever reason. They just don't show up. They, don't deliver. Luka makes them their his children. Like, it's just, I don't know. I guarantee you, if Paul George had an opportunity to be a Laker tomorrow, I bet you he would. You telling me he would rather play with Kawhi Leonard, who can't play, than go and run and go play with Daddy LeBron and Anthony Davis? He just can't. But I guarantee if he was a free agent and the Lakers had the money, I don't see him re-signing with the Clippers to not go play with the Lakers. I mean, maybe he does, right? But you got to remember, the Clippers traded for him. He didn't go choose to sign with them. That's the difference. The whole caveat was Kawhi Leonard said, I'll sign with you if you go get Paul George. So they went and traded everything to go get Paul George. And Paul George was like, oh yeah, I'll play with Kawhi Leonard. If he didn't go, like if Kawhi Leonard would have went to the Lakers, Paul George would have probably still been at OKC or Miami or something like that. Like, he wouldn't have been it's not like he would have been like, oh man, I can't wait to go to the Clippers. I'm going to be a free agent. I'm going to go sign with the Clippers. No. If it wasn't for Kawhi Leonard, Paul George would not be a Clipper. So the idea of like, oh, it would mean more, like, really, Paul George, your whole life you really wanted to be a Clipper. That's what your dream was. Of course not. Of course not. Your dream was to be a Laker. You got upset because the Lakers didn't trade for you, which would have been stupid for them to do at the time. And, now look, now you're stuck with a team that can't win nothing. So good luck. But anyway, again, I just wanted to talk about this. I thought it was funny. And I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions. So let me know. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below.